Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you, everyone? So, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. I'm going to, today I'm going to continue with the same part, that is part number 3, project evaluation. In the last class, we have we have started with part number 3, that is the project evaluation. And today I'm going to carry forward with this same part, that is part number 3, project evaluation. How it works, when it works, why it works. So that is the part number 3, project evaluation. So when we talk about the introduction of this one, so that is the introduction to get to this point is in the project design process, there is a considerable amount of the effort, time, other resources that have been expended. So there are expansion of the resources, expansion of the other resources that is used. So we must evaluate the things, we must evaluate the project, whether the project fulfills the requirement, whether the goals or the main goal is to create the effective education project that can serve as a model of excellence. But how do you know if you have succeeded? That is, how do you know whether you have done the work very well or not? So this portion of the guide has been developed to help the education coordinators take project development to a new level by truly integrating evaluation into the process, how it works, when it works, and why it works. That is project evaluation. Then the next one is what is the project evaluation, how it works, and what is the main method of the project evaluation that we already discussed. So in the course of implementing a various of the project, various types of information are gathered. So whatever the information that is gathered over here that is required. And the education coordinators often wants to know how many individuals participated in an event. That is, how many individuals are totally participating in an event, whether the participants were satisfied with the logistic or whether the staff members and the volunteer feel the confident in their ability to deliver a particular education experience. What is a particular education experience that is answered, and whatever the query, whatever the question that is asked for the useful information. And they also help the education coordinators monitor specific aspect of the project. What are the various aspects of the project? And however impacted, this type of information gathering tends to be more sporadic and patchy than the methodological and the comprehensive. That means whatever the requirement, whatever the data gathering requirement that is gathered, so that is very patchy and that is very effective in case of the data gathering method. And when you talk about the evaluation, that is a systematic collection of the information about the activities, characteristics, outcomes of the project in order to make the judgment about the project, improve effectiveness and or influence decisions about the future programming. What are the various future programming that is to use? And importantly, when we talk about the very important, so evaluation also provides the project coordinators with well documented and consider the evidences to support the decision making process. What are the decision making process that is well documented, that is supported, and that is also provide the decision making criteria. And evaluation is not merely the accumulation and the summary. This is not that we are talking about that we are only collecting the data, but we have to evaluate whether the things are done well, whether the procedures are doing well, whether each and every activities are going well or not. So that is, evaluation is a systematic collection of the information about the activities, about the characteristics, about the outcomes of the project in order to make the judgment. And in order to make the judgment that is relevant, that is time-bound, and that is well documented. And there is a considerable amount of the effort that is required, that is used with the new technology, that is used with the new features. So evaluation is not merely the accumulation and the summary of the data, but it helps us determine the project. What is the main project? What are the various projects merit, demerits that is considered, that is what are the various advantages, disadvantages of the project, how it works, how it is well defined, and how it is considered to be, or how we can continue with the ability to determine the project accomplishment, how it accomplished, how it works, and how it do. And additionally, evaluation document project's accomplishment, that is whatever the accomplishment, whatever the data that is required. And if the project has been designed properly, with the well articulated objective that's specified. What is the objective? How we can determine the objectives, to what degree and within what time period the evaluation can determine whether or not the objectives are set, whether or not the objectives have been met. So we have determined and whether the objectives are met or not. What is the criteria for the objectives? Why we are developing the objectives? And the evaluation can also gather the information as to what the reason why its project is meeting the objective or not. So whether the project is meeting the objective or not, so why it is gathered, why it is required, what is the main criteria for the requirement of the gathering. So it is used to judge whether a project is or not meeting the objective. Then next one is the spotlight on a BWET. That is what is the BWET, how it works. So BWET is an environmental education program that supports experimental learning about how they come, what they come, and how they are doing something. So the goal is to support existing programs, foster new programs, and encourage the partnerships in providing what that is a meaningful environmental experiences, whatever the meaningful environmental experiences that is get. In 2006, this contract is used with external team of the evaluators to learn how it works, how it speaks, and how it do. And the pre-post test also showed that the student used in this one, that is used in the criteria, how it works, how it goes, and how it is well defined. And that is used with the behavior, that is used with the content, that is what is the main difference, that is appear to be most positively influenced by the cracking the data, that is used with doing the target or the issue, conducting the issues, and how it is well documented. Then next question arises, why there is a requirement of the data analysis, why there is a requirement, why the evolution important to the project design and the implementation, how it works and why it is very important. And what are the various evidences, what are the various benefits that is provided for the conducting the project evaluation and how it works. There are various ways by which we can conduct the analysis, we can conduct the data. So first is the participants. The participants are the very success or the core to the success of the project. That is, participants are one of the key methods that is used for the success. Then next one is the project improvement. So whatever the project improvement that is taken out, that is used for the project improvement methods. Then public relations. Public relation in the sense that whatever data that is generated by an evaluation can be used to promote the product, to promote the services that is gathered by the data analysis tool. The next one is funding, then improved delivery, capacity building. So these are the few points, these are the few benefits that is available with the evaluation. Why evaluation is very important for the project designing and the implementation. So first is participants. Then next one is public relations. Then next one is funding. Then next one is improved delivery. Then next one is capacity building. Then clarifying the project theory. Then taking the stock. These are the various benefits that is available with the project designing tool, project designing methods. Now, next is what are the various steps that is used in planning a project evaluation. That is, what are the various steps that is followed while evaluating or while we plan out. That is how it works. What are the main planning criteria for the project evaluation? So step number one is re-examine the issues. So whatever the issues, whatever the audience, whatever the project objective that is available, so we have to re-examine the issues, re-examine the audience, and re-examine the project or the objective. Then establish the planning team. So the next step that is step number 2 is establish the planning team. So first of all, re-examine the issues and establish the planning team. So let's start with step number 1. Step number 1 is planning the issues or re-examining planning. That includes, first one is planning the issue, or we can say re-examine the issue, audience, and the project objective. So before a project evaluation can be designed, it is essential to fully understand the project. That is components, what are the various components, what are the various relationship among the components, the audiences, and the intended outcome. So what are the various outcomes, what are the various intended outcome, component, audiences, that is used for the short term, intermediate, and the long term. And whatever the project objectives that includes in the step number 3, as well as the logical model that is included in the part number 2 of the step number 4. So that is included in two parts, that is step number 3 and the step number 4, that should be re-examined and used as a roadmap for planning the evaluation. That is used as a roadmap that is used for planning the re-evaluation or the evaluation. And with the logical model and the associated performance objective in hand. So whatever the objective in hand, objective performance, whatever the scenario that is getting out, we are using the roadmap for the evaluation, for planning the new team, for the planning the evaluation technique. And with the logic model, whatever the logic model that is developed, and the associated performance objective in hand, evaluation planners will be able to articulate how the project is supposed to work. So what is the project, how it's supposed to work, and from this foundation, the rest of the evaluation design will follow, whatever the design that is followed for the evaluation design. So step number 1 is re-examine the issues, audience, and the project objective. So that is used for the project evaluation, that can be redesigned, that can be essentially used for the fully understanding the project, component, relationship among the components, audiences, and the intended outcomes. And that includes the project objective, that includes the logic model that should be re-examined, that can be used as a project map for planning the evaluation. Then next step is step number 2, that is establish the planning team. So step number 2 is establishing the planning team, that includes the stakeholders, that includes the audience and the evaluator. So the project in all likelihood involves a variety of the players, that includes the project manager, that includes the resource managers, staff members, and the volunteer organizations participant, that also includes with the committee member, that also includes have a stake in the overall success, so whatever the stake that is included in the overall success of the project. And each plays a different role and also sees a project. So everyone plays a different role in the curiosity and also sees the projects through a different lens. And these perspectives should be tapped when planning and evaluation. So we should be tapped with the evaluation techniques, and to ensure that the ideas and the perspectives are represented, so members of the stakeholder group should be invited to participate in an evaluation planning team. That must be evaluated, that must be considered, and that must be invited to participate in an evaluation planning team. The team that depends on a particulars of the evaluation may purely play an advisory role, or may play an advisory role, or may take a different hands or one or more hands to participate in the actual data collection. And the exact expectations of planning team members need to be decided and articulated early in the process, and hopefully this team was established during the planning process for the project itself. That is established for the planning process, that is established for the planning. That is these two steps. Then step number 3 is identify a purpose for the evaluation. What is the main purpose for the evaluation, how it works, and how it will identify the process. So evaluation team will need to determine the scope of the evaluation. That is, what is the main purpose of the evaluation, what is going to be evaluated, and who will use the evaluation. So first is purpose, what is going to be evaluated, and who will use the evaluation. And if the purpose is to assess the extent to which a program is operating, as well as a plan to collect the evidences of the progress towards the outcome identified in the top model, then a process of the implementation, whatever the process method, whatever the implementation phase, that is evaluated, or that evaluation is called for the next step. And on the other hand, the purpose of the evaluation is to judge whether the goals of the objectives have been met, or whether the objectives have been met or no, then it will reach the organization, it will reach the objectives, it will reach the evaluation that is known as the summative evaluation that is warranted. And given the time and the resource constraint, that is not realistic, that is not constrained with the specific criteria that is used for all the aspect of the project that will be evaluated. And the project team will need to set the specific goals and the objective, whatever the specific goals and the objective that can be manipulated, that can be used to focus on the evaluation planning and the design. That is step number 3, identify a purpose for the evaluation. So we have covered with 3 steps. First one is re-examine the issues, audience and the project objectives. Then step number 2 is establish the planning team that includes the stakeholders, audience and the evaluators. Then step number 3 is identify a purpose for the evaluation. What is the main purpose for the evaluation, how it works, and what is the content for the evaluation. And that is used with the Merito, that is a multicultural education for the resource issues threatening oceans, that is a Merito, that is used with the program of the Monetary Bay International or the National Marine Sanctuary, that conducted a need assessment with the representative with the criteria that is used for the representative that uses the logic model with the stakeholders to develop, implement and evaluate the bilingual ocean and the conservation related outreach program, different adults, children, students, adults, families that is living near the marine sanctuary. And on the other hand, some programs do very little on a formal basis, but even in these programs, when asked how they know the program is successful, and how they know in the sense what they know about the program, how they are successful, and the educators are able to cite the example. Therefore, the data have been gathered, the data have been analyzed even if normal. Everything is done, everything is manipulated with the data gathered, even if the normal condition. And most of the program falls somewhere in the middle, that is used with the education coordinator that do the pieces of the several of the steps listed, but may not do all of them, or they do something of the or some of them curiosity. For example, when I talk about the literature and review, that is works for the planning team, that works for the various control, that is used in the planning process, that is used with a similar content program. And she felt that the whatever the time that is spent on the step 5 or 7, that makes a tremendous difference in the success of the program, or a program that she was able to pick from the out of the best. That means whatever she has done, that means evaluate the things whatever she has done, so more and more material will be catching out from that part. And she had clear insight to what extent she needed to measure in order to ensure that the program was meeting the objectives. And others also help to avoid the reinventing the wheel, because if we reinvent the wheel, that is not necessary for locating the existing resources, and the more material will be used, new material will be used for the observation for the successful instrument. And in some cases, they were able to find the evolution instrument that could be adapted to their own programs. These are the 3 steps. One is the reassess, then participants. Then the third step that is used over here is identify a purpose for the evaluation. What is the main purpose of the evaluation? Why we evaluate the material? What is the main advantage of the evaluating the material? That was established with the planning process, that is used with the planning process. So these are the 3 steps. Then what evaluation steps do people really do? So what are the various steps that is really doing with the people? That is how should we plan, implement it and evaluate. But when it comes to the evaluation, what do people really do? That is using the resource planning, that is used with the Merito, That is multicultural education for the resource issue threatening oceans of the monastery Bay National Marine Sanctuary that conducts a need assessment with the representatives and the community leaders to identify what are the various ways to expand the marine conservation education. And most of the program that falls somewhere in the middle, that is education coordinator, will be covered in the middle of the centuries to locate the well-renewed resources, well-reviewed material, and the best practices, and they were able to find the evaluation instrument that could be adapted to their own program, that could be adapted to their new program. Next step is step number 4 that I'm going to discuss within the next class, that is the tomorrow's class. That is how to, or what is the main role, or how to focus on the project evaluation or improvement. What is a project improvement? How we can focus on that? Yes, the main target is that we generally use for the project improvement. That focus is on what services are provided and by whom, how the services are provided. That is strengthen the program by providing the feedback of implementation. Right. So till now, any doubts, anyone over here? Anything that you want to ask? Anything that you want to ask? Anything about the assignment? Anything? Okay, so we will meet tomorrow with the